Taxi operators Gqeberha are threatening another strike if their COVID-19 funding problems aren't resolved. Government says over 20 million rands meant for operators and owners was paid to taxi associations, but those in the industry say they haven't seen it. Our reporter Ronald Masinda is at Gqeberha with the latest. A very good morning to you, Ronald. So, of course, some of the operators you spoke to yesterday seemed a little unsure as to whether or not they're going to strike. Do we know for sure now that it's going to happen, or is it just a threat?
All right, a very good morning to you, Morena. Well, still no confirmation as of yet whether the strike will happen or not. But we are at the Gqeberha Stadium. This is where taxi operators and taxi owners were supposed to receive feedback from the various associations who were in a meeting with a number of stakeholders here at the Nelson Mandela Bay Metro. We were unable to get any confirmation or any information following that meeting, as the media was barred yesterday. But as you can see in the background, we are seeing quite a number of taxi operators already here at the Gqeberha Stadium. This was the stadium where they met almost a month ago, where they also received similar feedback as to whether or not the strike should continue. And that was a very intense time here at Gqeberha, where a lot of taxi operators who have been up in arms about not receiving TES funding had said that they will continue strike action, stopping several vehicles, many of those vehicles, people who are also taxi operators, people operating e-hailing services who were barred from using the various routes that minibus taxi operators usually use. But we also know that it caused a lot of disruption, not only on the roads, but also many people unable to go to work during the time, many of them relying on the minibus taxis for transportation. And various damage to property was also caused by this strike action that took place almost 3 weeks ago. So many people hoping for positive outcomes, many people here hoping that we don't see similar clashes take place as we saw almost a month ago, where also several taxi operators were arrested, around 6 of them arrested near Motherwell, and those taxi operators are still appearing in court next month. They are currently out on bail, but we are sooner to hearing about what the outcomes of that meeting that took place were, but we will be speaking to the taxi association bosses, hopefully after they've concluded what they are supposed to conclude here later this morning at the Gqeberha Stadium in Zweden.
How severe would another strike be for commuters in general, in whichever parts of the province it could be happening?
Very severe, because what we do know here is that there's quite a limited amount of transportation going from townships to the several towns where people go to work. When I was here almost a month ago, I remember a time where restaurants had to close because they had a lack of staff. And not only there, but we also saw quite a number of hospitals also affected, healthcare facilities where people were barred from entering. And this, of course, raised huge concerns from the politicians and people who are the leaders here in Gqeberha, saying that, this is a time where President Cyril Ramaphosa must deploy the army, because the situation became out of control. It seemed like a lot of people who depended on police felt disappointed that the police didn't quite do their jobs. When I spoke to Gqeberha, he also felt that, the blame shouldn't be on police because they are severely understaffed here in Gqeberha. But what we can say at the moment, Morena, is that people are very tense. We spoke to several of them on the streets yesterday. Many of them saying that, they cannot afford another protest. This is a region where there's high rates of unemployment. I mean, Gqeberha saying that well over 40% of people are unemployed in Gqeberha, and this would only have a devastating impact on employment and many people who are relying on the services of taxis, not only to go to work, but also taxi drivers themselves, because remember, they're also losing an income should they decide to continue with the strike action.